A sharp scream tore through the air. Qijuan, who had just pushed open the front door, went flying backward and slammed heavily onto the floor. I stepped inside and looked down at him, lying there clutching his stomach and howling in pain. I lifted my foot and pressed it down hard on his face, then lowered my head and stared at him coldly. You've got some nerve, don't you? Sleeping with my woman? You got a death wish? Li Wan in the bedroom heard the commotion and came rushing out in her pajamas. The second she saw me standing there, she froze completely, staring at me in shock. Su Yang?
What?
What are you doing here? My foot was still planted on Qijuan's face. I turned my head to look at Li Wan. I ran my eyes slowly over her pajamas, messy hair, clearly just crawled out of bed. I let out a cold laugh. Shouldn't I be asking you that? I nodded down at Qijuan under my foot and went on. Staying out all night, sneaking over to this man's place to sleep with him? Do you even remember you have a husband? As I spoke, I pressed down harder with my foot. Qijuan, his head twisted sideways under my shoe, let out another scream. It hurts. It hurts so bad. Brother Su. I'm sorry, Brother Su. I'll never do it again. Please. Spare me. Annoyed by his sniveling, I pressed down even harder. Qijuan couldn't get a word out anymore, only broken screams. Seeing Qijuan pinned under my foot, Li Wan flew into a rage. She screamed at me, Su Yang, let him go right now. She charged at me, reaching out to shove me away. Even at a time like this, she was still defending that pretty boy. I had no patience left. I drew back my hand and slapped her hard across the face. Smack! The sharp crack echoed through the living room. Her head snapped to the side and she stared blankly for a long moment, stunned. I stepped forward, twisted both her arms behind her back, and held them in one hand, then pressed her face up against the wall with the other, my voice ice cold. Li Wan, not only do you sleep with this pretty boy, you dare defend that trash right in front of me? Did you really think I'd never snap? She trembled all over, struggling wildly. Su Yang, let go. You're hurting me. Let go of me. Let go. Seeing she still refused to show any remorse, I didn't hold back. I grabbed her head and slammed it against the wall. Thud, 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 thud. With every impact, a dull, heavy sound rang out against the wall. Her screams turned to sobs, then to desperate pleas. Yang, stop. It hurts, please. I stopped, still holding her face pressed to the wall, and leaned in close to her ear. Now it hurts? When you were in bed with that pretty boy, did you ever stop to think this would happen? At my question, her mouth hung open, but no words came out. I let go. She slid down the wall and collapsed onto the floor. She looked up at me, her eyes full of terror. I stared down at her pathetic, disheveled state and spat directly in her face. Filthy whore. I ignored her dazed, empty stare and turned toward the door. Qijuan had somehow managed to pick himself up off the floor. When he saw me walking toward him, he scrambled out of the way, his face twisted with fear. As I passed him, I paused and glanced at him. I lifted my foot and kicked him hard right between the legs. Thud. Ah! The scream split the night air. He doubled over, clutching his crotch, and dropped to his knees. His face turned deep purple, veins bulging, his lips trembling, tears streaming down his face. Watching him convulse on the floor, I muttered trash under my breath and walked out. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window, spilling bright and sharp across the floor. I sat on the sofa. On the coffee table in front of me lay a divorce agreement that would leave Li Wan with nothing. I hadn't slept a wink after coming back from that apartment complex last night. I'd drafted the agreement, had a lawyer go over the terms, printed it out, and signed it. By the time I was done, the sun was already up. The lock clicked suddenly. Li Wan pushed the door open and walked in. She kept her head down, step by step, until she stood in front of me. Her eyes darted away, too afraid to meet mine. Su Yang. Listening to her hoarse voice, I nodded at the divorce agreement in front of me. There's nothing to talk about. Sign it. My voice was soft, but it hit her like a heavy stone. She stared at the divorce agreement laid out before her, her pupils shrinking slightly. What? Is this a divorce agreement? I leaned back against the sofa, crossed one leg over the other, and looked at her. If you're already messing around with that pretty boy, there's no point in staying married. Let's get a divorce. At that, tears burst from her eyes. She shook her head wildly. No, I won't sign it. Su Yang, I don't want a divorce. She rushed over, dropped to her knees in front of me and grabbed my hand. I know I was wrong. I really do know I was wrong. Forgive me this once. Just this once. I'll never do it again. I'll never see him again. I swear. I swear, Su Yang. Her hand was shaking, ice cold. I looked down at her red, tear-streaked eyes and slowly pulled my hand away. Li Wan. Last night, at that man's place, you didn't sound like this. Her face stiffened. For a moment, she had nothing to say. Yesterday, you came running out in the pajamas I bought you, defending him, telling me to let him go. And now you're here saying you're sorry, that you'll never see him again? I paused and looked at her with mocking contempt. Li Wan, be honest. Do you even believe a word you're saying? Tears poured harder down her face. I was panicking. I wasn't thinking straight. Su Yang, you know you're the only one in my heart. Only me? I let out a cold, bitter laugh. If I'm the only one, why were you in bed with another man? Li Wan, doesn't that make you sick to say that out loud? Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Only tears kept falling. After another minute I spoke again. Just sign it. Stop wasting my time. She started shaking her head again, frantic. No. Su Yang, I'd rather die than sign this. She stood up and stepped back, her fists clenched in the hem of her clothes, her whole body trembling. Even if you beat me to death, I won't sign. I'm not getting a divorce. I stood up, walked over to her, and looked at her quietly. You're sure you won't sign? At my cold tone, she dropped back to the floor, buried her face in her hands and began to wail, her shoulders heaving. Su Yang, please, don't divorce me. I can't live without you. My parents will kill me. Everyone we know will laugh at me. Please, I'll do anything. I'll be your servant. I'll wait on you forever. Just don't divorce me. I looked down at her, a cold smirk tugging at my lips. Li Wan, if you can't live without me, what's that to me? If your parents beat you, what's that to me? If everyone laughs at you, what's that to me? I grabbed her by the collar and hauled her to her feet, staring her dead in the eye as I spoke slowly, one word at a time. If you cared about any of that, why didn't you think about it before you cheated? Now you're here playing the victim? Don't you think that's pathetic? She said nothing, turning her head away, too ashamed to meet my eyes. I shoved her hard back onto the floor, picked up the divorce agreement, and threw it down in front of her. I'm only going to say this one more time. Sign it. She stared at the paper on the floor, tears dripping onto it and blurring the ink. Then she lifted her head sharply, her eyes suddenly hard and sharp. Su Yang, do you really have to do this? I said I was sorry. I begged you to forgive me. What more do you want? Are you trying to drive me to my death? Drive you to your death? At her sudden shift in tone, I smiled faintly. What, the crying act isn't working, so you're dropping the mask? Li Wan, get this straight. You drove yourself to this. You chose to cheat. You chose to sleep with him. You chose to defend that trash right in front of me. She tilted her chin up and glared at me. So what? That's enough for you to divorce me? To ruin my life? Su Yang, have you forgotten how many years we've been together? Was I never good to you? Did I never care about you? One mistake and you're throwing me out like garbage? One mistake? I held her gaze. In your eyes, one mistake isn't enough. And Li Wan, can you honestly say last night was the only time? How long have you known each other? How many dates have you been on? How many times have you slept together? Under my relentless questioning, she bit her lip and fell silent again. Her reaction was exactly what I'd expected. I went on, nothing to say? You think I don't know anything? You've been chatting on WeChat for 3 months. 5 dinner dates. At least 3 hotel stays. Her face went deathly pale. She stared at me, wide-eyed. You were spying on me. Spying on you? I laughed. Li Wan, you didn't even bother deleting the chat logs. Your phone password is still your birthday. You think I needed to spy on you? The only reason I didn't say anything earlier was because I hadn't finished putting all this together. Otherwise you think I'd have waited until today to ask for a divorce? She trembled all over, tears welling up again. Su-Yang, Enough. I cut her off sharply. By this point I was done wasting words on her. I reached out and grabbed her wrist hard. Her face twisted with pain. Let go of me. I ignored her struggles, dragged her by the wrist toward the door. What are you doing? Su-Yang, let go of me. She thrashed wildly, hitting my arm with her free hand. Let go, you bastard, let me go. When I got her to the door, I wrenched it open and shoved her outside. Get out. And don't come back, Su-Yang. You can't do this to me, I'm your wife. She tried to lunge back inside, but I kicked her away and she fell to the ground. She lay sprawled on the doormat, glaring up at me, her eyes full of resentment and fury. Su-Yang, you're not human. I didn't answer. I just slammed the door shut. The next afternoon, at a cafe in the south of the city, Li-Wan sat there, a long cold latte in front of her. She was wearing sunglasses, hiding half her face. She had a fresh band-aid on her forehead, and the bruise at the corner of her mouth still hadn't faded. Across from her sat her best friend, He Xiao. They'd met in college, ended up in the same city after graduation, and often went shopping or out to eat together. Li-Wan had always thought He Xiao was the person who understood her best, besides her parents. Xiao, I really don't know what to do. Li-Wan took off her sunglasses, her eyes red again. She told her everything that had happened the night before, from me beating Qixuan to forcing her to sign the divorce papers and throwing her out of the house. After listening, He Xiao frowned. She didn't rush to comfort Li-Wan like she usually did. She was quiet for a few seconds before speaking. Wan Su-Yang was wrong to hit you, that's true. But let's be honest, you cheated first. Li-Wan's face froze. She stared at her best friend in disbelief. What? What did you just say? He Xiao looked at her and went on. Think about it. If you found out Su-Yang was cheating on you with another woman, how would you react? I bet you'd be even angrier than he was. If you really don't want this marriage to end, moping about how unfair this isn't going to help. You need to cut that man off completely and find a way to earn Su-Yang's forgiveness. Li-Wan's face flushed with anger. She shot to her feet, pointing at the friend she'd once trusted more than anyone, and screamed. He Xiao, what is that supposed to mean? I thought you were my best friend, but you're taking his side over mine. I get it now. You've had a thing for Su-Yang this whole time, haven't you? You want to steal him from me? He Xiao, I can't believe you'd do this to me. Naturally, He Xiao was furious at the accusation, but she kept her temper and said calmly, I know you're upset right now, but I really think you need to calm down and think about how all this started. Shut up! Li-Wan's voice rose to a shriek. She pointed straight at He Xiao's face and yelled. This isn't all Su-Yang's fault. You should see how he treated me. He hit me. He stepped on Qixuan's face. He slammed my head into the wall. He even spat in my face. And what did you do before all that? He Xiao cut her off mid-rant. Li-Wan stared at her, her mouth hanging open, speechless. He Xiao looked her in the eye for a few seconds, then asked a question that left her completely stunned. Li-Wan, tell me this. How could you cheat on your husband? If you don't love him anymore, just get a divorce. From what you told me, he's the one who asked for a divorce. You're the one who won't agree. Why? With every word He Xiao said, Li-Wan trembled harder. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore, and screamed, Shut up. I said shut up. I came to you for advice, not to get lectured. If you're on Su-Yang's side, then get out. The cafe went dead silent. Every eye in the place turned to them. He Xiao stood up then, looking at Li-Wan with deep disappointment. Li-Wan, we've known each other for years. I remember you used to be different. I never thought you'd turn into this. I'm leaving. Think about what you've done. With that, He Xiao picked up her bag and walked toward the door. Li-Wan stood there trembling all over. He Xiao. Get back here, I said. Stop. He Xiao ignored her, pushed the door open and left. Li-Wan stood there, staring at the closed door. Her face burned red. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she gritted her teeth and refused to let them fall. Then she noticed everyone staring at her like she was some kind of sideshow. She grabbed the cold latte off the table and hurled it in their direction. What are you all staring at? Coffee splashed all over the customer at the next table. He stood up, ready to yell, but his friend held him back. Forget it. Don't waste your time on a raving lunatic. Li Wan heard it, but she didn't have the energy to argue anymore. She collapsed back into her chair, pressing a hand to her forehead, and said nothing. Just then her phone rang. She glanced at the screen. It was her mother. Mom, she answered, but before she could say another word, her mother exploded on the other end. Li Wan, you shameless little tramp. Her mother's voice was shrill and sharp, stabbing into her ears like a knife. How could you cheat on your husband? Have you no shame? How am I supposed to show my face in public? How's your father? How can our family hold our heads up in front of the neighbors? Li Wan went deathly pale. She'd never expected her mother to find out. Mom, let me explain. It's not what you think. Not what I think. Her mother's voice rose even higher. Su Yang sent photos of your little affair to all of our phones. Pictures of you hugging that man, kissing him half naked. And you still dare say it's not true? Li Wan's mind went completely blank. Su Yang had sent those photos to her parents? Mom, someone set me up. Set you up? You really think I wouldn't recognize my own daughter? Li Wan opened her mouth to argue more, but no words came out. Her mother spoke again, sharp and cold. Li Wan, listen to me. If you get divorced over this, don't bother coming home. Your father and I can't stand the shame. Go to hell for all I care. Mom. The line went dead. Just then, Li Wan noticed a message from me on her phone. Come back and sign the divorce papers. Or I won't. Mind taking more extreme measures? Staring at the message, she typed back at once. In your dreams. I'll never agree to a divorce unless you give me half your money. Not long after she sent it, I replied. Fine, then there's nothing more to say. A bad feeling settled in her stomach. She sent message after message asking what I planned to do, but I never replied. Early the next morning, I drove to Li Wan's hometown, a small county town more than 200 kilometers from Zhengcheng. I parked the car, took out a portable megaphone, took a deep breath, and started shouting. Fellow villagers, uncles, aunties, brothers and sisters. My name is Su Yang. I'm Li Wan's husband. I'm here today for one reason. I want everyone to know what a shameless woman Li Wan is. She cheated on me. She's been keeping a pretty boy on the side. I work my fingers to the bone to support this family, and she's out sleeping around. I caught her in the act, and she still refuses to sign the divorce papers. Tell me, does this woman have any shame at all? My voice boomed through the megaphone, echoing over the whole street. Instantly, windows flew open one after another, and heads poked out to look. An old man at the breakfast stall put down his fried dough stick and craned his neck to see. A vegetable seller stood by the road with her basket, her mouth hanging open in shock. What? The Li family's daughter? Is that true? Su Yang. Isn't that her rich husband, Tesk? She always seems so quiet. Who'd have thought she'd do something like this? Murmurs spread like wildfire. I drove slowly down the main street. All the while I held up the megaphone and shouted the same thing over and over. Li Wan cheated on her husband, got caught in bed, still won't get a divorce. All the money she spends is mine. She lives in my house, drives my car, eats my food, wears my clothes, and then brings other men into the bed I bought. Tell me, does this woman deserve to leave with nothing? She does. Some young guy in the crowd shouted back. Others joined in, jeering. Yeah, kick her out of Lintown, disgraceful. Laughter, insults, and jeers all blended together. I kept driving, turned the corner, and saw a figure come sprinting out of an alley up ahead. It was Li Wan. Even though her mother had told her not to come home, she'd been unsettled by the message I'd sent her the day before. She'd hurried back anyway, only to walk straight into this. She came sprinting toward my car, slamming her hands on the window and screaming, Su Yang, are you insane? What do you think you're yelling about? I held the megaphone up to her. Why, broadcasting all your glorious achievements, of course. She trembled with rage. Su Yang, what do you want from me? I set down the megaphone and looked at her. My goal's simple. Divorce. Sign the papers and I'm gone. Tears burst from her eyes at once. Soo-young, you can't do this. This is my hometown. My parents live here. How am I supposed to show my face around here after this? Did you think about your parents? When you were cheating on me? Did you think about showing your face when you were in that man's bed? She stared at me and said nothing. It was clear she still refused to get a divorce. Seeing that, I didn't press the point. I picked up the megaphone and started shouting again. I yelled from the car and Lee Wan ran after it. Soo-young, stop, please don't do this. I ignored her, hit the gas, and drove toward her uncle's house. Lee Wan's uncle lived on the west side of town, in a 3-story house with a farm truck parked out front. I stopped at his gate, got out with the megaphone and shouted up at the second-floor window. Uncle Lee, it's Soo-young. Your niece Lee Wan cheated on me. I caught her in bed with another man. And now she's refusing to sign the divorce papers. Tell me if I'm in the wrong here. The second-floor window slid open. Her uncle poked his head out, looking confused. What, Soo-young? What are you saying? I'm saying your niece cheated on me, kept a pretty boy on the side. I caught her red-handed. And she still won't get a divorce. All the money she spends is mine. She lives in my house, sleeps in my bed. And then, she runs off to sleep with other men. Tell me, doesn't a woman like that deserve to get divorced? Her uncle's face flushed and paled by turns. That's. I held up the megaphone. If you think she's in the right, then let her keep dragging her feet. I don't care about looking bad. Because it's your Lee family's reputation on the line, not mine. With that, I turned, got back in the car and drove to the next relative's house. Lee Wan's mother's brother lived on the south side of town. I parked, walked to his courtyard gate with the megaphone and shouted, Uncle Wang, it's Soo-young. Your niece Lee Wan cheated on me. I caught her in bed, and she still won't sign the divorce papers. What do you think I should do? Footsteps sounded from inside the yard. The door swung open, and her uncle ran out in slippers, his face dark with anger. Soo-young, what are you going on about? Going on about nothing? I pulled my phone out of my pocket, pulled up the evidence of her affair and shoved it right in his face. Look for yourself. These are her chat logs with that man. This is the hotel they stayed at. This one's a photo of them hugging. Look close. Tell me that's not your niece. Her uncle stared at the screen. His face went from dark to red to white, his lips trembling, unable to speak. I put my phone away. Uncle Wang, I'm not here to cause trouble. I just wanted to ask you, what's the fastest way to get a divorce in a situation like this? If you can, I'd appreciate it if you'd talk some sense into your niece. Her uncle stood in the doorway for a long time before managing to say, You stop yelling first. I'll give her a call. With that, he turned and went back inside. I didn't waste any time. I went down the list of Lee Wan's relatives, and stopped at every single one. By the time I'd hit every house and made my way back to Lee Wan's place, she was crouched by the front door, her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking with sobs. After my little tour, every relative and friend of hers had called to demand an explanation. Her phone had been ringing non-stop. Her parents stood just inside the door, their faces ashen, too ashamed to step outside and face the crowd. Finally, I parked the car and walked over to her. Lee Wan, I'm asking you one last time. Will you get a divorce or not? By then, there was no point in refusing. In the end, she signed her name on the divorce agreement. When we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I stood on the steps, clutching the divorce certificate. Lee Wan walked behind me, her head down, saying nothing, her eyes still red. I glanced back at her once, then turned and drove away without a word. Back at the company, I went straight to my office. I pulled out the investigation materials I'd had on Kishwan, and flipped through them. According to the files, Kishwan's favorite game was using money and smooth talk to get close to women. Once he was intimate with them, he'd secretly film and photograph them, then sell the footage for profit. He was so skilled at hiding his cameras that none of the women ever knew it was happening. Even if they stumbled across their own photos or videos online, the footage had been edited to remove any identifiable marks. They could never prove when or by whom they'd been filmed. After reading through everything, I called my assistant in. Mr. Sue, you sent for me? I nodded at the evidence spread across the desk and said, find a way to spread the word about this guy secretly filming women and selling the videos. Get as many people as possible to find out about it. And make sure the people around Li Wan find out that she was one of the women he filmed. She liked that man so much, didn't she? I'm curious what she'd do when she finds out what he was really doing behind her back. Understood. I'll handle it right away. With that, the assistant left. 3 days after the videos leaked, everything spiraled completely out of control. Li Wan had no idea where they'd come from. All she knew was that overnight she'd become the talk of the town. Her aunt was the first to call. Li Wan, have you no shame? Letting someone film that kind of thing? Do you want your whole family to be disgraced along with you? Li Wan froze. Auntie, what are you talking about? Don't he play dumb? Those videos of you and that lover of yours are all over the internet. Everyone's seen them. Your uncle, your cousin, your brother, all of them. Li Wan's phone nearly slipped out of her hand. She hung up and trembling opened WeChat. Dozens of unread messages filled her list. She tapped one from a former coworker. Li Wan, is this you? This is wild. There was a video link attached below. She didn't open it. She already knew exactly what it was. Another message from a college classmate. Wan, it's bad. Someone sent your inappropriate video to the whole group chat. Further down, high school classmates, the neighbor who'd lived downstairs from her, the manager at the beauty salon she went to. Everyone had gotten it. Everyone was asking her about it. Li Wan threw her phone on the bed, huddled in the corner, and buried her face in her hands. There was only one thought in her head. It's over. Everything's over. For the next few days, Li Wan didn't dare leave the house. She locked herself in her rental apartment, drew the curtains tight, put her phone on silent, and was too scared even to order food delivery. But the world outside didn't stop just because she was hiding. Back in her hometown, her parents had it even worse than she did. Li Wan's mother went to the market to buy groceries. She'd barely reached the meat stall when the butcher, old Joe, said in a snide tone, well, if it isn't Auntie Li, what'll it be today? Spare ribs or… He lowered his voice just loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Or something to help your girl get her head on straight. A few other women shopping nearby snickered behind their hands. Li Wan's mother's face turned deep purple. She said nothing, bought a block of tofu, and turned to leave. Murmurs followed her. Heard about her daughter's videos. TSK, my son showed me. Wow, you'd never guess. How does she even have the nerve to show her face around here? Li Wan's mother walked faster, practically running out of the market. The next day, Li Wan's father walked past the village general store. A group of men were standing by the door smoking and chatting. When they saw him coming, they went quiet. But old Jung hadn't noticed, and kept right on talking. I saw the videos, man. Wow, her body, you'd never guess. Someone nudged his arm. What? Old Young looked up, saw old Li and froze. You Uncle Li. Old. Li's face was black with rage. He walked over slowly. What did you say? Nothing. Old Jung backed away. I asked you. Old Li's voice came out through gritted teeth. What did you just say? The others hurried to pull him back. Uncle Li, old Jung's had too much to drink, he's talking nonsense. Don't take it to heart. Let go of me. Old Li shook the man off and pointed at old Jung. You say it to my face. Who were you talking about? Old Jung lost his temper too and stood his ground. I was talking about your daughter, so what? The videos are all over the internet. It's not like I'm the only one who saw them. What are you yelling at me for? If you've got so much energy, go find that lover of hers. Taking it out on us, what good does that do? Something snapped in old Li's head. He lunged forward and punched old Jang square in the face. Old Jung stumbled backward and crashed into the store shelves. Packages of instant noodles went spilling everywhere. You dare hit me? Old Jung scrambled to his feet, grabbed an empty beer bottle and swung it at old Li. Old Li dodged. The bottle hit the ground and shattered. The two men grappled with each other. In the chaos, old Li was shoved hard. His foot slipped, and the back of his head slammed into a stone bollard by the road. Thud. With a dull, heavy sound, old Lee's eyes went wide for a second, then slowly slid shut. His whole body went limp and collapsed to the ground. Blood seeped out from the back of his head, staining the concrete red. Old Lee, call an ambulance, hurry! Everyone panicked and scrambled to call an ambulance. Lee Wan was staring blankly in her rental apartment when the call came. Her phone rang. It was her aunt. Lee Wan, something's happened to your dad. He hit his head and was taken to the hospital. Hurry back. Lee Wan's mind went blank with a roar. She grabbed her bag and sprinted out the door. She took a taxi, then a long-distance bus, jostling all the way. It was already evening by the time she reached the hospital. Pale, harsh fluorescent lights lit the hallway. Her aunt was sitting outside the operating room. When she saw Lee Wan, she stood up, opened her mouth, then closed it again. Aunt, how's Dad? He's in there. Her aunt looked away. The doctor said there's intracranial hemorrhage. He needs surgery. Lee Wan's legs gave out. She slid slowly down the wall to the floor. This is all your fault. Her aunt spoke suddenly, her voice quiet, but every word cut like a knife. If you hadn't done all those shameless things, would people be talking behind your dad's back? If it weren't for you, would he have gotten into a fight? If it weren't for you, would he be lying in there? Lee Wan opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Tears just kept streaming down her face. The surgery lasted over 3 hours. The light above the operating room went out, the door opened, and the doctor stepped out. Family? I'm here. I'm his daughter. Lee Wan rushed forward. Doctor, how is my dad? The surgery went well enough. The bleeding has stopped. But he's older, so recovery will take time. He's out of immediate danger, but we'll need to monitor him closely. Lee Wan's knees buckled and she nearly collapsed. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. Her father was wheeled into the ward, his head wrapped in bandages, his face pale, his eyes closed. Lee Wan sat by the bed and held her father's hand. It was cold, the skin loose, veins standing out. Then her father opened his eyes. Lee Wan cried out happily, Dad! Dad, you're awake! How do you feel? Her father looked at her red, swollen eyes and her haggard face. Smack! He slapped her hard across the face. The sound rang out sharp in the quiet ward. Lee Wan's head snapped to the side. Her face burned, but she didn't dare move. Dad. Don't call me Dad. His voice was hoarse and weak, but every word landed like a stone. I don't have a daughter like you. Lee Wan froze. Dad. What are you saying? Her father stared at her, his eyes bloodshot. I said from today on you're not my daughter anymore. I don't have a shameless daughter like you. Tears poured down Lee Wan's face. Dad, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Saying you're sorry makes those videos go away? Saying you're sorry means you're... Mom and I don't have to face everyone's snickers when we leave the house? Saying you're sorry means I wouldn't be lying here in this bed? Lee Wan couldn't say anything. She just kept crying. Get out. Her father closed his eyes. Get out of this room, and don't ever let me see you again. Lee Wan knelt by the bed. Dad, please, don't send me away. You and Mom are all I have. You don't have a dad. His voice was cold as ice. You chose this path yourself. Now walk it. I'll talk to your mother. From today on you have no family. No ties to the Lee family. Lee Wan lunged forward, trying to hug him. Her father raised a hand and pushed her away.
Nurse, nurse.
The ward door opened and a nurse hurried in. What's wrong? Get this woman out of here. I don't know her. The nurse looked at her father, then at Lee Wan. Miss, please leave. The patient needs rest. Lee Wan shook her head. No, I'm not leaving. Dad, get her out. Her father turned his head away, refusing to look at her. The nurse called security, and they escorted Lee Wan out of the ward. She stood in the hallway, staring at the closed door. Through the glass, she could see her father lying in bed, eyes closed. He didn't move. At all. He might as well have been dead. She crouched down in the hallway, wrapped her arms around her knees and sobbed out loud. Passers-by glanced over. A nurse came over and told her to keep it down, not to disturb the other patients. She bit her lip and held back her sobs, but the tears still kept falling. She didn't leave the hospital until she had no more tears left to cry. A week later, I was walking out of the office to the parking lot when a figure darted out from behind a pillar. It was Li Wan. She'd lost a shocking amount of weight, her eyes sunken, her cheekbones sharp. She wore a crumpled dark coat, and her sneakers were caked in mud. She stood in front of me, her head bowed, too afraid to look up. Su Yang. I stood there and looked at her quietly, saying nothing. Slowly she lifted her head. Her eyes were red. I know I was wrong. I really do know I was wrong. Let me come back. I'll be your servant. I'll do anything you say. Please. I looked at her pathetic state, my face cold and impassive. Get lost. She ignored my sharp rebuke, and fresh tears spilled over. Su Yang. I have nowhere to go. My dad doesn't want me. My mom won't have me either. I cut her off before she could finish. If you don't leave right now, I'll start yelling. I'll let everyone know that the woman from those videos is right here. All the color drained from her face. You can't. Try me. I made a move like I was about to shout. She flinched, turned and ran, vanishing into the crowd. I watched her retreating back and paid it no more mind. I pulled open the car door and got in. Later I heard she'd been searching everywhere for Kishwan, wanting revenge. But the word was that other victims had already broken all 4 of his limbs and ruined him as a man, and the police had taken him away. When she found out, she had to give up on getting even. The last I heard of her was 3 years later, when I saw a news story pop up on my phone. She'd been arrested for prostitution. Looking at her in the photo, I just shook my head and silently locked my phone. Loyalty is the bottom line of marriage. The heroine cheated during marriage and defended the 3rd man without remorse after being caught red-handed. Her husband was thoroughly disappointed and filed for divorce decisively. Yet she refused to separate and tried to seize property. The man exposed their intimate footage, spreading scandals among her relatives and townsfolk. The 3rd party secretly filmed indecent videos for profit. After the materials leaked, the heroine lost all reputation. Her father was severely injured in a quarrel over gossip and cut ties with her. Abandoned by everyone, she ended up on the wrong path. The story warns that marital betrayal triggers a chain of tragedies. A momentary illicit affair will ruin family, reputation, and life. We must stay faithful and cherish stable life.